De'Vondre Campbell has been suspended. That's right. And can the Niners sneak in at 9-8 into the playoffs? I don't know. And we're going to talk about Brock Purdy. Will he get the max deal? Seems like the 49ers want him here, but Brock Purdy's camp is going to be looking to reset the market. We're going to talk about all of that right here on Monday's edition of the WayneBreezie Show, so make sure you stick around. What's going on, 49er faithful? Happy Monday. We are back, touching down on the ground. You know what time it is. It's time for the WayneBreezie Show. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button on your way in. And if this is your first time watching, you just happen to come across the channel, make sure you click on that subscribe button. And don't forget, if you want to become a member of the Breezie Bunch crew and take advantage of all the cool perks and the good Christmas Day giveaway that we're going to be doing over here, make sure you go ahead and join the Breezie Bunch crew. Just click on that join button right there. Become a member today. Shout out to the Breezie Bunch crew. They are in the building early, so I wanted to get some early morning shout out to my man 49ers _throwback. Thanks for tuning in to Faithful. Make sure to smash that like button. All right, don't forget to subscribe and keep in your prayers for Peachy. All right, make sure you keep Peachy in your prayers, guys. All right, Boats, what's going on? He says, I'm in no mood to pay any 49er right now. I feel you, bro. But you know what? Life goes on and business has to be handled, and he's eligible for a contract. So we're going to talk a little bit about that for sure. Ben, what's going on? Let's go, baby. Red Jet Shell in the building. What's good? Everyone like and sub. All right, make sure you guys do that. My cousin Snoop's in the building. What's going on, Snoopy? Nigel in the building says, hey, everyone. I see my man Thomas out there. What's going on, Miss Stephanie? Happy Monday, faithful. Hey, Wayne, what's good? What's good? What's good? Ty Tanner in the building. My man Colin in the building. Shout out to the crew. Miss Debbie's in the building. Hey there, Wayne. Blessings to everyone in the chat. Looks like we have some things to talk about between players being hurt, drama throughout the season, and then John Lynch going number 42 on De'Vondre. All right, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. It's good to see you here in the chat. Again, shout out to everybody and all the members out there. Alejandro, what's going on, baby? What's good? Now, listen, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Well, not the elephant in the room anymore. A lot of stuff has been going on. This 49ers team, and Miss Debbie brought it up. She kind of summed it up in a nutshell, right, in her comment. She summed it up. It was like between injuries, the drama, and, you know, I think those are in the bad play. I would say injuries, drama, and bad execution. I'll leave it at that. I thought those are the three things that pretty sum up the San Francisco 49ers season. Injuries, starting off the season with injuries, starting off the season with drama. You had the contract drama, the holdout drama, the Brandon Ayuk drama, the Trent Williams drama, right? And it just, it's like every year the San Francisco 49ers are going to deal with contract negotiations. And the question is, each player is going to respond to it a little bit differently, if I'm not mistaken. Each player is going to respond to it a little bit differently. And the drama with the Brandon Ayuk situation was basically, you know, if the Niners weren't going to pay him, he wanted to be traded. He wanted to go to a different team, which is probably what any normal person wants in the world. But because it was with the San Francisco 49ers, it ended up being drama. And then the Trent Williams holdout, he was looking for guarantees, ended up being drama. And then the injuries just really started piling up. And it was kind of like injuries to like really key players, to key positions on the team. The Christian McCaffrey injury, I thought, really kind of set the team back as far as how the offense is shaped and ran and all that good stuff. But, you know, with those Achilles injuries, he really couldn't get going until middle of the season. And then when he came back, he ended up getting injured again. Different injury. Brandon Ayuk gets injured like after the first 7 games he plays, and he gets injured in that 7th game, and he's out for the season with an ACL and an MCL. And then it's just a bunch of injuries. Now, listen, it's football, and I don't like to blame injuries for, you know, the season. We do know that injuries will play a factor. We do know that it's football. We do know that it's a 100% hazardous type of sport. It's 100% injury. Like, people are going to get injured, whether they're out for the season or playing through injuries, like Fred Warner with the ankle injury. You had the unfortunate events that happened, the trauma that happened to several players, a couple of players on the family with Trent Williams and his family, and Travarius Ward with his family. So it's just a weird a weird season. And then to top it off, right? To top it off, like the execution has been piss poor offensively, defensively. Like it's never in sync. You never get a good offensive game and a good defensive game and a good special teams game. It's like you're going to get a good offensive game. Defense going to give up a bunch of points, can't stop a nosebleed. Once the defense is able to stop a nosebleed, the offense can't find ways to score. So it's just been a whirlwind. If you are a 49er fan, it's just been crazy. It's been a crazy season, and if those are disappointed in the season, please be disappointed. I understand expectations definitely weren't met, and I totally understand that 1,000%. And since we're talking about like the execution, let's talk about Deebo Samuel. Jerry Rice just made a comment about Deebo Samuel situation, and I'm not mad. First of all, Jerry Rice is the GOAT, right? So when I think of Jerry Rice, I feel like when he speaks, we should all listen. When he speaks, we should all listen. But he doesn't make the comment till after the fact, and I have an issue with that. I felt like if Jerry Rice really wanted to say something to Deebo, he should have said it prior to the fact. Bro, why are you out there saying this, saying that? Like, that's what mentors, that's what those guys, that's what I'm expecting from legends that are around the team still, right? I wish he would have came to Deebo and said, hey, Deebo, listen, that's not how I handle business back then. Now, Jerry Rice did come out and state, and I just want to read what he said because I don't want to get it misconstrued or misinterpreted, how some people do out there. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So let me just read what he said. But he did speak on the Deebo Samuel situation. And he said, I don't know, quote, I don't know what's going on. For me, I would have been pissed at myself and at the whole scenario. After you complain about not getting touches, you cannot drop the ball. He said, I never said anything about touches. I just kept working. Now, Jerry Rice said some stuff in here, and I like it. I like some of the things he said. He kind of talked about like how his work ethic was. That's how he capped it off. He talked about his work ethic, and I never complained about touches, which I don't know. I feel like that's a little. I feel like I want to call that like bull. Maybe he didn't complain on social media, but he definitely complained because if I'm not mistaken, when we drafted Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice was feeling some type of way, and there was some issues going on with Terrell Owens. So let's not act like it was drama free. I know Jerry's the GOAT, my favorite player of all times, but let's not act like Jerry, you know what I'm saying? Like didn't have any issues. Now, did he address it publicly? Possibly not, because you couldn't, you couldn't. And with T.O. coming out saying the same statements a little bit earlier about him not being the same, like these are like legends in 49ers and NFL history. I just feel like I wish, like if I was a legend or a mentor, I probably would go to a player just to see what's going on, have a conversation with them, just to kind of vibe them out. I know these new age players are different, right? You got to talk to them a certain way, can't say certain things, you can't look at them a certain way, you can't be tough, can't be rough, can't hit them. You know what I mean? You got to be a little different how you speak to today's generation, but clearly we do know that something is going on with Deebo Samuel, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, and it's just a shot. And that's when I talked about execution, with all the players offensively being out, with Brandon Ayuk being out, with Christian McCaffrey being out, I think the expectations of the person wearing the C on their patch, and I'm not talking about George Kittle, but Deebo Samuel, I think the expectation is that he would rise to a different level. Now, I'm not saying he does everything wrong out there in the football field. We have seen him get better in wide receiving blocking and run blocking and things like that. But as far as him just being a guy that could catch the ball, you can kind of like consistently depend on him, he just hasn't been that this season. And his stats prove it. His stats show it. So down year for Debo. Don't think the 49ers are going to move on from Debo, but he's probably one of the main culprits of just that word execution. You know, you would expect Debo to step up. Hey, man, throw me the ball, get me the rock. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to make it happen. I think the issue with Debo Samuel this year, obviously, is execution. That's number one. Is production. That being number two. I think three, just him being more vocal and doing things, right? Debo never really spoke out and said, I need more touches. He never really saw him on national television, like in a confrontation with a player on their own team. You never really seen these things. And I'm not saying he's wrong for doing them. I'm just saying this is a different type of behavior that we've never really seen. And I don't know if it's because he feels like he has to step up and do this as a captain or whatever. I don't know. All I know is if Debo was producing and his execution was on point, nobody would care if he choke slam Bobby Ventura out there. Nobody would care. No one would care. No one would care what he said. No one would care. And I think for Debo, he's going to have to figure out these next 3 weeks. He got 3 weeks left in this season before the 49ers decide what they're going to do with his situation. It could cost the 49ers some money if they decide to move on from him. It'll hurt them against the cap. But if they feel like Debo is on that decline, which a lot of people feel like Debo's on a decline, and his stats are showing it, it's a possibility that he will be without a job with the San Francisco 49ers going into 2025. So I just feel like, you know, with the execution and Deebo Samuel, I'm going to need to see a big jump in the leadership role by not saying anything and just going out there showing and improving. If they get you the ball, do what you do. If they don't get you the ball, continue to show leadership out there on the football field. And, you know, that's why you got these legends, you know, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice. I can't wait to whoever. It doesn't need to be anybody else. Those are guys that actually played the position. They played it here. But it's hard for me to like, when you hear them speak on a player, you know what I mean? When you hear them speak on a player, I'm not mad, but I'd be like, y'all bitch them. Y'all complain too. Wait, I know Jerry Rice complained about Terrell Owens. He complained about touches. It ain't on social media, but I know he was tight. Then I know Terrell Owens was crying. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Like these are things that players do. Now, as far as Debo moving forward, that's going to be up to the Niners and their money guys and front office. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan is going to chalk this season up to just, this is just a bad season for the team, period. Let's see what happens next year. We got you on another year. Got you for another year with $20 million. Let's just figure it out and run it back one more year. I think they run it back one more year with Deebo Samuel. You know, that's just my opinion. If they don't, they don't. If they do, we just gonna have to sit back, accept it, and hope the offseason will give Deebo Samuel some time to reflect and just get better mentally, physically, and ready to go out there and play football. And it's crazy because he was coming off of the season where he got injured late in the season. And then he, you know, it was on the Netflix special. What was it called? Wide receiver, something, right? And then like came back in the preseason, like before, you know, training camp, and he was the guy out there on the football field. Like him, Ricky Pearson, like they were looking dominant because there was no Brandon Ayuk. So it's just weird just to see what's really going on, and it could be just that his clock is ticking and his age is. He's only 28. It's only 28 years old. But the Jerry Rice comment, I think Debo, if he reads this comment, maybe I'm hoping what he gets from it is, you know what, let me pull back and let me focus on what I could do to be better. Now, what I wanted to say to address to Jerry Rice is Debo was mad at himself, and Debo did take accountability, and he said the loss was on him. So I don't know if Jerry Rice heard those comments, but somebody needs to tell the GOAT that Debo actually took that upon himself. He actually did, and I think accountability is everything. It shows who your character is. Debo was really pissed off at himself after dropping that pass, but the game wasn't over, and he was waiting for another opportunity to make a play. Unfortunately, didn't really get many more opportunities after that. The Niners offense couldn't really move the ball. We got our first Super Chat contribution from this guy. What's going on, baby? He says, no on BP. All right, so we're going to get to this for sure. Do you mind if I save your Super Chat a little bit later? Because I want to talk about the Brock Purdy situation. I want to hear your take on it and give it some time. So I got your Super Chat. I see it in the queue. It's going to be loaded up, locked, and ready to go. All right, I promise. I got you, bro. I got you, dog. I got you. But look, again, like Jerry, Debo was upset with himself. He was pissed off. He was trying to go out there and make a play. He was trying to go out there and whatever. But you're right. Debo, I think for me, my words to the young brother would be, listen, man, put on your pads, get out there. You got 3 weeks left. And it's not that you need to prove yourself to anybody. You've done what you needed to do in the NFL. That's why you got paid. I think he just needs to go out there and just try to perform his best football. You know, whatever way he can, whether it's running the ball, blocking, whether it's receiving, catching the ball. Like, I'm not going to blame the slick conditions on him dropping that pass, but 9 times out of 10, we know Debo catches that pass. He might not catch other routes, but he catches that pass. So that was a weird, that whole game was weird, man. Whole game was weird. Brock Purdy didn't play well in that game. That whole game was weird. The good news is they're going down to Miami and the weather's going to be nice. So we can't use weather as an excuse. And I think the 49ers offense will be back for sure. Let's talk about De'Vondre Campbell being suspended. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, he should have been cut. And you know what? I get it. You know, at first, I wanted De'Vondre Campbell cut as well. I'm not going to be the type of person that's going to sit here and lie to you. I want him gone. I want him away from the team as much, just gone, just away from the team. I want him gone. And then it kind of hit me that the Niners can kind of do some things to control the situation, right? So what they did was they suspended him. They suspended De'Vondre Campbell. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I actually like it. They suspended him because here's what it is. By suspending De'Vondre Campbell, per Ian Rappaport, they suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team. The 49ers will be able to avoid paying him his final 3 paychecks of the year. Final 3 paychecks of the year. So there's 3 games left, and he won't get paid. Now, per Spot Rack, De'Vondre Campbell's 3-game suspension for this particular situation, conduct detrimental to the team, will cost him $261,666 in salary per game active bonus. The 49ers will also have the option to go after another $111,666 of his $3.35 million signing bonus for the games missed. So, what John Lynch and what Parag Marathe thought that would be best is like, hey, man, we could cut him. We could cut him. We can cut him. We can remove him from the team, and that's cool and all. But he'll end up probably getting picked up by a different team. And what are the odds he gets picked up by a team like, I don't know, Buffalo, Kansas City, just a team that's looking like Detroit, the Lions. Like, what's the odds? Seattle, right? And next thing you know, this kid's playing in the Super Bowl and whatever. So what the Niners did was they decided to suspend him for this. They free up and they get back some dough, right? So the Niners, they get back some money. Also, they hold control of his rights. And I don't think people are understanding that they hold and they own his rights, right? This is crazy, They own his rights, and that is what's most important. Now, for those that don't know what De'Vondre Campbell did, let's go ahead and recap it. We got to go back to Thursday Night Football. It was a bad game overall for the San Francisco 49ers. For some players, it was probably one of their greatest performances out there, like linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who was out there looking like a machine. And then he ended up getting some knee, I would say, some irritation, and then, the Achilles started to kind of like hurt. So he came out of the game, not the knee, but the Achilles, right? So he comes out of the game, doesn't go back in. They were trying to get De'Vondre Campbell. They asked De'Vondre Campbell to go into the game. He decided that he wasn't going to go into the game, and then he walked off the field into the locker room. Third quarter of the game, when they needed him to be out there, he chose to quit, in my opinion, on his team. He said, I'm not going to play. That's quitting. So he chose to quit on his team. And the players spoke about it. Coaches spoke about it. Now the front office and the team is actually doing something about it. For those that feel like this isn't a story, I understand that, but it is a story when it comes to within what the Niners are doing, and they're proven out there that they're in control. And I think that's what's most important. Hey, you don't want to play? No problem. This is what we'll do. We'll suspend you, sir, right? We'll suspend you, which means you can't play. And guess what? Not only can't you play for any team out there for the remainder of this season. And this allows this story to actually linger on for other teams to be like, yo, did this motherfucker really quit on his team in the middle of the game? Teams will probably be like, yeah, we don't want this cat. We're going to move on from him. So it's a possibility that he really terminated his NFL career by pulling a gesture. Now, I'm sure he thought that the team was going to release him or cut him, which was everybody's initial statement. But when you found out that the Niners can actually control his rights, control what happens to him for the remainder of this season, because it was a one-year deal, and get some money back, it's a win-win for the San Francisco 49ers. So I tell you what, man, I think John Lynch and the crew definitely handled this properly. They took time. They got all the information they needed. They found out what they could kind of like textbook get him for. They got him for that. And they get some money back into the cap for the San Francisco 49ers for a player that they didn't plan on playing for the remainder of the season. And you know what? You can't even be mad at the San Francisco 49ers. He did this to himself. I feel like De'Vondre Campbell, you knew what you was doing, dog. And unfortunately, you're not even a dog to me. You're probably a flea. And I still don't understand how you can just walk away from your team in the middle of a game. That's like just imagine, like, let me just put it into these terms, right? Imagine being at war and you get demoted or subbed out or demoted, like in the middle of a battle or before the battle begins. Yeah, man, I'm going to need you to do this role today, period. And then imagine you not showing up for your troops, for your comrades. I mean, if you put it in those terms, that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. So at the end of the day, I just feel like, De'Vondre Campbell quit on his team, and it is what it is. Now, the Cali Boy says apparently it was the fourth quarter when Lynch came down, tore him a new one, and kicked him off the field. Either way, he quit. If I ask you to go in the game, I don't give a fuck what happens after that, and you choose not to go in the game because you don't want to go in the game, you could leave. So I don't care if this was fourth quarter when Lynch did and tore him a new butthole or not. At the end of the day, bro, real talk, that dude needed to be outed. I'm surprised he didn't get beat up by teammates. And I guarantee you, if the teammates knew what was really going on, it probably would have got sour. Real talk. Like, because I know there's some dudes on this team that's about that life. And I don't think Campbell's about that life since he want to be a model. All right, so that's what's going on with De'Vondre Campbell or whatnot. Now, look, I was sitting here like you know me, man. I'm the optimistic guy, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm super optimistic, right? I feel like I know the Niners' shot of the playoffs is over, but man, there's some things. Are you guys following the NFL? Are you guys really following the NFL? There's some things going on in the NFL that I wasn't even aware of. Like the Lions lost to the Bills. Now listen, the Lions are good, right? But they also lost probably their best player. Isn't that crazy? David Montgomery tore his MCL, maybe out for the remainder of the season. Probably out for the remainder of the season. Isn't that crazy? And so I'm looking at what's going on in the NFL, and I'm saying to myself, oh, snap. Look, the Lions don't have a defense. They're giving up points. And I get it. It's the Buffalo Bills. But they've been giving up big points for the past, and they got the rest of their schedule is really hard. Now, the Niners are currently 6-8. I understand that we're in last place. Dig it. Totally dig it. if we could get the Commanders somehow, who are 9-5, if they can lose their last 3 games, right? And we finish and we win the last 3 games, there's a possibility. If Seattle loses, there's still, I can't believe that there's a small, slim chance that the Niners can still somehow make the playoffs at 9-8. Isn't that blowing your mind? So I said that to say, what should the Niners do? Should they hold their fate on what the remainder of the teams, or should they just go out there and open up a can of whip ass on the Miami Dolphins, come home on Monday night, open up another can of whip ass on the Detroit Lions, and save that one last can of whip ass for the Arizona Cardinals whenever that game time is going to be decided, and just win out for the remainder of the season? Does the draft capital really hurt the San Francisco 49ers? Does it matter that much to the 49ers? And I'm going with no. Whether they picking 15th or 20th or 20, I don't think it really matters. I think the Niners know who they want, what they're looking for, and they're going to get whoever they want, what they're looking for, whether they got to trade up, whether they got to trade back. The Niners aren't at the prime real estate. Picks 1 through 10, they're not there. They're not there. Even at 6-8, even if they finish 6-11, like even if they don't finish well, like even if they finish 6-11, like they'll still probably they'll be top 12 maybe in the draft. And so like I know a lot of people are starting their mock drafts, and I ain't mad. I love it. Keep up the great work. I'm not ready to start mock drafting because it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And I know I'm being optimistic, but having that small, slim chance, whether it's 1%, 1.2%, 0.1%, there's still a chance. Look, I was looking at the game, Sunday night game, and they said that the 49ers are still in the hunt at 6-8. We're still in the hunt at 6-8. I know we got some games coming up, and I know the way our team is built. Look, Rusty says top 10 draft pick. Just hear me out. Hear me out. All I'm saying is it's going to be hard. The Niners made this bed. They got to live in it. They got to sleep in it, no doubt. Top 10 pick. I don't think we're going to get a top 10 pick, honestly. I don't think so. Jax, it ain't over to the fat. We can't say this anymore, Jax. Sorry. Rewind that. Rewind that. We're not allowed to say this anymore. Cancel culture happened. So we're not allowed to say that. But my point is, there's a possibility that the San Francisco 49ers, and it's slim, guys, it's really slim, they could find their ways into the playoffs. Now, they got a tough opponent. They're on the road. I think Dre Greenlaw is going to be good to go. Isaac Guerrero will be a little bit more healthier. The weather will be nice. Look, Aaron. Aaron, I ain't mad at you, bro. I think that was one of my percentages. 0.1. Hey, man, 0.1 is a percentage, bro. It's not a zero, and it's not negative. It's a percentage that there's a possibility. Look, a lot of stuff has to happen for the San Francisco 49ers to win it, and it's almost going to be damn near impossible for it to happen because you need teams to lose. And I don't think any team in the NFL is really, especially the ones that are like contesting to be in the play, I don't think they want to lose. Now, if they lose, they lose, but I don't think they want to lose. There's 3 weeks left to go in the NFL after this Monday night football game, and then we'll kind of like see what's going on. But the San Francisco 49ers, man, Miami, Detroit, who looks pretty beat up. Also, didn't they lose their wide receiver? What's his name? Jameson? I don't want to call him James. Not Jameis Winston. Jameson Williams. I thought he left the game. Look, they're look, the Lions are the team of the NFC as of now. They're still that team. But there's some teams that are creeping up, and if the Lions are getting a little weaker and weaker each week, they play a team like the 49ers, and the Niners defense is where it needs to be, man, they're going to beat that team up. I can tell you that right now. Now, what I do like is that, these upcoming games, we're just hoping that the weather is great, because I think the 49ers, they'll play better in just better weather. I think headed down to Miami, I think they'll play better. I really think the weather really hindered a lot of their offensive performance. I know it shouldn't, but I really think that it hindered the offensive performance on how they showed up and didn't show out. You know what I mean? Against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Plus, it was a short week, so it was just a lot going into that game. And if you think about it, if you think about what I'm saying, and I'm not using that I'm not using that as an excuse. But if you really sit back and think about what I'm saying, just go look at the Rams offense. It didn't do much of anything else. They ran the ball a little bit better. They threw the ball probably a little bit better, just a little bit. But they also had turnover, and we didn't. So that kind of like swayed the game, and they ended up beating us 12-6. So I don't know, man. The Niners just need to go out there, put their big boy pants on, and I don't think they should call it quits. I think players that are healthy need to go out there and play. What do you guys think about that? Should the players that are healthy go out there and show up and show out? What do you guys think, man? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Me personally, if you're healthy and you're good to go out there and play some football, man. It's what you're getting paid for. It's what you love to do. You know, this ain't about next season. It's about right now. How can we close out the season? I would like to close out the season with a winning record. I'd rather us close out. Maybe that's a better question. Do you want the 49ers to close out the season with a winning record or a losing record? I'm just curious to know. And if you say losing record, there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that you want that draft pick. I know what y'all thinking. Trust me. I know what y'all thinking. 1,000%. But my thing is, I want us to go out with a winning record. Snoopy says winning, Nigel winning, NBN Pineapple winning. Listen to this, Ty. This is it. Never quit. What's the comment? What's that saying from where does never give up, never surrender come from? I've heard that before. I feel like that was in Gladiator. I could be wrong. Never give up, never surrender. Was that Gladiator? You know, I can't remember. You guys will remember better than I do. Colin says if the Jets listen, the Jets are playing football right now. You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing? It was Galaxy Quest? I was way off, bro. And I seen this movie. Is Galaxy Quest with Tim Allen? Is that with Tim Allen, Vince? Because if so, I seen it. It was like a parody to Star Trek. Never retreat. Okay. I'll be having stuff on whatever. Yeah, I'll be all over the place. North Carolina coach said it. You guys just know it. I don't know. And this is it. Drew from Facebook. Shout out to Drew over on Facebook, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. This is what it is for me. Remember that season we acquired Jimmy Garoppolo via trade and we won like 8 straight or something like that. Like we won a bunch of games in a row. We kind of went to the next season with the momentum. I think this is what Kyle needs to do. Kyle needs to get his offense back in sync with the pieces that he has. Like, and it's okay. I know he's missing his guys. I know he's missing BA. I know he's missing Trent Williams. I know he's missing Christian McCaffrey. I get it. Those are 3 key pieces to your offense. I get it, Kyle. But listen, get these guys, get them ready, have them loaded, and go out there and play football, man. Plus, you need to evaluate some of these kids. What is Aaron Banks? There's no way in the world that we should be trying to bring Aaron Banks back, correct? Right? You tell me. Listen, and beginning of the season, I put out a crazy tweet. It was bold. I said that Aaron Banks will be an all-pro guard this year. Well, I was wrong. Wrong as hell. He ain't an all-pro at nothing. He's not even a pro. He like a mid-tier. You know what Aaron Banks is like? Aaron Banks is a guy that you want to come in and fill in if you get an injury to your starting offensive lineman. That's crazy because they drafted this kid. So it's weird, right? Like, and when I looked at the game and I was watching the film, I'm like, damn, man. Like the moment when Ben Barch came back, the offense ran the ball well. It provided a spark. Like he goes down, Spencer Burford comes in, the spark stays lit. You bring the starter back out, coming off of the concussion, and the offense couldn't move the ball to save their life on the ground. And I'm like, man, is Aaron Banks that bad? And when you put on the film, he's that bad. He's not as bad as maybe your center, but he's still bad. So, I I don't know, man. All I'm saying is the 49ers got to figure out some things and get some things right. You know what I mean? They just got to figure out how to get. So you got to evaluate Aaron Banks because he's on a contract season. He's the end of his rookie contract, and you want to see what he does out there. I'm okay if they decide to move on from him. Jake Brendel, I mean, he's the starting center. He's healthy. He's going to remain the starting center until they decide to make a switch. Colton McKivitz, he's the starting guy. These are guys they extended. Like, he's going to be there. I don't see them upgrading the Colton McKivitz position. And let's just see how strong Dominic Pooney finishes out the year. Jalen Moore, if Trent Williams isn't good to go, which I'm hoping he'll be able to play in this game on the road in Miami. I doubt that he'll play. It depends on if he practices this week. But Jalen Moore has been pretty good. And guess what? Contract year. You're going to see he was drafted in the same draft as Aaron Banks, just later on, I think in the 5th round. So, like, the Niners, man, they just need to do some evaluating on the offensive front. But we've seen this offensive unit play well together as far as the line, and we've seen Purdy play well. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy in a few seconds. And before we do that, let me get to the Super Chat contribution from Jax. All right, Jax Knox says, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Let's go. 49ers, we still in it. We are. It's 0.1%. But that means we are still in it, Jackson. Thank you so much for your Super Chat contribution. I truly appreciate that. All right. Before we get into this next segment of the Brock Purdy, because I know this is going to cause some ripples in the waves out there. And it was the movie with Tim Allen. Thank you so much. That was actually a funny movie. That was an underrated, we're talking about Galaxy Quest, underrated, low-key, funny film. That was a parody. If you guys are into Star Trek, it was about Star Trek, right? Spaceballs was about Star Wars, and Galaxy Quest was about Star Trek, right? So you got a parody movies, funny movies, right? So the Brock Purdy situation is happening, and Tom Pelissero talked about Brock Purdy and him and his camp. They're going to be looking to get like the max deal. Like, they want Brock Purdy to, reset the market of the quarterback position. And, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about Brock Purdy. Does he deserve that supermax type of a deal? And there's different takes. There's different takes. I'm not asking, is Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback? I think we can all, by a show of hands, say that he's a franchise quarterback, right? He's a franchise quarterback. Will he be the franchise quarterback for the 49ers? I'm going to go on the limb and say yes. The question is, though, how much will he cost? Okay? How much will he cost? Now, again, I believe there was John Lynch said that they want Brock Purdy to be the quarterback for the 49ers, which lets me know that he wants to be the franchise guy, right, moving forward. But we don't know how much they're willing to pay for that. Now we got our first Super Chat contribution of today's episode from this guy, and I said I was going to get back to it. I told you I was going to get back to it. I just had a little format that I was rocking with. He says no on BP. Let's fucking talk. That's what I'm talking about. Without weapons, this is it. CMC was the workhorse. BP, 2 years, one better than Jimmy G, one way worse. It'd be a mistake to pay him. Now, you know what I gotta do? I gotta pull up Jimmy Garoppolo's stats. Jimmy Garoppolo's stats. I need to see the way worse. So, okay, and then let me put up Brock Purdy stats. Because I don't get the way worse. You had me, though. But at the way worse, you lost me. All right, so let me see. All right, so Jimmy Garoppolo was with the Niners 1, 2, 3 since 2017, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He gave us 6 years. His best year was in 2019. Obviously, we know what that year was. 2021, he put up 3,800 yards, 20 TDs, and 12 interceptions. Finished with a 98.7 rating. He had a higher rating in 2022, but he didn't play that much, right? Isn't that the year he got hurt? And that's when Brock Purdy took over, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, but his rating was high. I do feel the Niners definitely had a better record with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo was a worse of a quarterback. Brock comes in 2022, finishes the season with 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, had a higher quarterback rating than Jimmy Garoppolo, period. His 2023 season, 4,280 yards, 31 TDs, 11 interceptions, 113 rating. And right now, currently, and he was a 69.4 completion percentage QB. And right now, he's at 65%. We have 3 games left. He's only at 3,174 yards, 15 TDs, 9 interceptions, and currently has a 94.3 rating. I will say that this is Brock Purdy's worst season as a starting quarterback, but it's still not bad, right? 15 TDs, that could be higher, but we're not scoring in the red zone. 9 interceptions. That's high. Hopefully he doesn't pass what he did last year. His rating could probably stand to come out. And this is why I want these guys to go out and compete for the next 3 weeks, right? Not just for stats, but just to prove that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can get the damn job done. Like, you could be a consistent guy. But I don't know, man. Like, without weapons, can Brock Purdy get the job done? And I think that's what we're starting to see. And I think this is the perfect test, right? I think this is a great comment, super chat from this guy. Perfect test. Weapons missing. No BA, no CMC. You got Debo, you got Kittle, right? And then you got Jennings, and then you got sprinkle of some other stuff, right? And then, and then it's Brock Purdy. But what I'm seeing a lot more from Brock Purdy this year is he's taking the ball down the field. He's changing up his game. He's evolving as a QB, and I don't think he's getting any credit for that. You know what I mean? I don't think he's getting any credit for that. Now, if Brock Purdy is looking to reset the market, that's where it's going to get interesting, because I'm looking at the top 10 quarterbacks, and let me see if I could change this for 2024. It's the only thing that matters, right? So here are the top 10 quarterbacks right now that are far as paid, right? Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. So that's just right now, 2024, and Brock Purdy will be eligible for the extension after this season, right? He completes his 3rd year. And so I'm looking at this. I mean, he doesn't have a bunch of competition really when you're looking at the top of, the contract for 2024. Now, if you want to go overall, it's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence is tied with Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert's up there, Lamar Jackson, obviously, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson is at number 10. And if you could put Jordan Love and Tua. So let's just say he's in that Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins tier. That's probably like where he is. But when you look at those annual years of the guys that I talked about, like 2024, because those contracts are a little older, you see Trevor Lawrence up there, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Tua, Jared Goff. Those are your top 5. I'm going to read the bottom 5. So hear me out. Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. There's 3 rookies on here. So when it comes to this next contract season, Brock's gonna have to make. Let me ask you this: is Brock better than Drake May? And just by show, just yes or no, is Brock better than Drake May? Yes or no? Is Brock better than? And I'm talking about overall, not just overall body of work. Obviously, is Brock better than Jaden Daniels? Now, is he more skilled? But is his overall body of work better than Jaden Daniels? Is Brock overall skill better than Caleb Williams? Now, we know those guys got scale because those were first-round picks in the draft. So you got $36 million, $37 million, $39 million. Those are your bottom 3 of the top 10. So Brock's got to make over 40 off the rip. He's got to make over 40 off the rip. Just off the rip. He's got to make more than 40 a year. And that's where it's going to get interesting. Like that, to me, that's where it's going to get interesting. Because now you got to go against the Baker Mayfields. You got to go against those guys. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. And I don't know if you're going to equivalate the wins. Are you going to equivalate the like of this season? I don't know how they're going to, compute all of this stuff, but Brock Purdy. Now, if I'm the Niners, this is a great question from Nigel. Is Brock Purdy better than Kyler? I mean, that's a tough question, right? Some say he's better. Some say he's not. Kyler's better at running the ball. Maybe has the bigger arm. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a great question. So let's just say that number is going to, the number maxed out is probably going to be the $60 million number. I think Brock Purdy, the 49ers are probably going to want to pay him that $40 million a year number. $40 million a year. I think that's where the Niners come in. All right. Now, there's a bunch of options that the Niners can do. Number one, the Niners can just let him play on his last year of his rookie deal. They don't have to do anything. Now, I don't know if that is going to, I don't know if there's any guarantees in that for Brock Purdy, which is why his agent's going to be looking to push a contract extension right now. I don't know if there's any security. That's what I meant. Any security in that? I don't know. And if I'm the Niners, they're probably going to push to do that. But his agent is not. Now, let me just say this. If the Niners don't do this, if the Niners don't decide to extend Brock Purdy after this season, that means that they're expecting him to play on his last year deal. What happens if Brock Purdy holds out? So what do we do? What do we do? Now, Brock Purdy can be considered somewhat damaged goods. He did have the elbow injury. He he did have that. Forgot what it was even called because I thought it was bogus. But at the end of the day, he did have the UCL, something. He had that. Came back, looked good last year. This year, struggling a little bit. Leon, this is a dope comment. He says, just make him highest average per year. They can always backload it and avoid years and get insurance, but obviously his agent is going to start high. He's not going to just come out and say Brock will take. I get this, but it's gonna. I like the average per year thing, but I think it's gonna come down to that guaranteed number. I don't know, something about the guaranteed number that is going to stand out. It does for some reason. When it comes to 49er players, that guaranteed number means everything. So I agree with this. I'm all for the big contract as far as big number, long amount of years, backloaded, save money up front, continue to build your team, sign who you need to sign, bring back who you need to bring back. I'm all for this. I'm sure Brock is going to be all for that too. But I personally think that it's going to get a little bit more ugly than what we think. And I know we're all expecting Brock to be this cool, calm, and collected guy. Now we're talking money and livelihoods. We're talking about a kid that has played 3 years of football, has been injured, blood, sweat, and tears, made almost $1 million a year for doing so. It's time to get paid. I think that, and I'm not saying he's about the money, but that's, you perform for the first contract, right? Like that, you perform to get that contract. I don't know that if there's any player out there in the world that doesn't bust their asses to get that first contract. Debo did it. Ayuk did it. Fred Warner did it. Kittle did it. I'm just thinking about 49er players. But look at the team NFL structure. This is what you do. You come in your rookie year, you ball the freak out, and you make them pay you. Like, that's how it is. And it comes down to the market. And we got to focus on what the market is, because the market number is where Brock's agent is going to be looking. And the 49ers are going to have a number where they're like, well, listen, man, you know, you're not putting up these guys' numbers. And Brock's going to say, like, let's just say you're not putting up Joe Burrow's numbers. And Brock's going to say, well, what the hell has Joe Burrow done for you? Like, he ain't doing nothing. They're the bottom of the barrel over there. They got good players, but they can't win. Sounds like us, huh? So do we pay him Joe Burrow money, even though he's not skilled as Joe Burrow? Like, it's weird. It's gonna. I just think this, right? When it comes to Brock Purdy, it's about to be super weird. It's gonna get weird, and I'm preparing everybody now. I'm just saying that. What's going on? CJ Gray says, I don't care either, except this is a salary cap sport. If you give a mid-tier top of the market money, you will in effect ruin the product. So of course we are invested in this. So yes, you're saying Brock's mid-tier, and if you pay him all this money, at some point it's gonna hurt your team in the long run. Agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000%. You know what my question is? What will it take for Brock Purdy to not be mid-tiered? Because some of us are saying he can't perform without his players. He can't perform. I think that's all teams. I really do. I think that's all teams. Now, some teams can find ways to win, but let's just look at Kansas City, for example. Just look at Kansas City, for example. I mean, you watch the Kansas City Chiefs play football, and they don't look anything like we know the Kansas City Chiefs to be, with the best player in football playing quarterback for their team, who seems like he's on a decline just a little bit, and prayers go out to Patrick Mahomes. I know he's dealing with an injury. So they're finding ways. They're finding ways to win, right? If Brock Purdy was in that kind of conversation of just finding ways to help his team win these games, would it be a different conversation? I'm just curious to know. Would it be? Now, I believe Brock Purdy is limited, and if that would be my reason not to pay him like the super max. I know that's not basketball, but that's the term that they use in basketball. When you draft a player, you're eligible to play them the super max. So I really feel Brock Purdy is limited in some areas, and he hasn't proven he can play well in inclement weather to me. Right there is a red flag. Now, I love the things that he can do well. And if we can take advantage of what the defenses are putting out, and we can take advantage of that, yes, everything's going to go great. But what about the great defenses? What about those defenses that are going to be hella aggressive, and the teams that he struggles against, and we're going to get the mid-tier type of performances from Brock Purdy? I think that is probably some of the things that the 49ers will probably bring up in these meetings. Just my thoughts, man. I'm usually always wrong, so I just think those are some of the conversations. I just hope that Miss Debbie, she started to show off talking about her comment was about drama, the injuries and stuff like that, and I'm just like, Miss Debbie, unfortunately, these are the days of our lives. Like, we are going to remain in the drama category. Now, I don't believe Brock Purdy is going to be the type of person that's going to go out there and put his business out there and do these little shenanigans and stunts and meet with other teams and do all that type of stuff. I hope not. I don't believe he's that type of a person, because his position changes that whole dramatic type of a story. You got to understand, there's a difference between being a quarterback in the NFL and a wide receiver in the NFL and a running back in the NFL. There are like the key positions that teams won't play around with: quarterback, defensive end, and your mother freaking left tackle. Them three positions are pretty much solid. And if you can get a top tier corner, a shutdown, man-to-man, lockdown corner. You don't play with those guys. You don't play with their money. You lock them in. Everybody else can be teetered with, toyed around with. Yeah, we like you, but this is the number we like you at. I don't think they can play around with a quarterback position like that. Now, there's a possibility, and I ain't going to come out here and put this out there in the air. I love Brock Purdy. I love what he's done for the 49ers. I believe Brock Purdy. I believe in Brock Purdy. I believe Brock Purdy wants to be a 49er. But listen, we have a head coach named Kyle Shanahan. I really don't know what the freak he thinks or believes anymore. Like, I don't. He's the type of person that gets a new toy. He plays with the toy. He gets everything out of the toy. And then the toy doesn't actually play the same exact way anymore, or something is older, or just doesn't perform the same way. He'll move on from the toy. He did it with Jimmy. Is he going to do the same thing with Brock? Will Kyle draft another quarterback, or will Kyle bring in another quarterback, make Brock compete for during his last season? I mean, these are the things that he can do. Now, Brock can hold out. That will be the drama. If Brock holds out, insert drama, insert the cue for the drama, and then here we go. Araceli, who has final say? Contract agreement, Purdy or his agent. Agent will have the final say as far as letting Brock know that. Well, you know what? Brock has the final say. How about that? Brock has the final say. So his agent will probably present to him the best thing. Now, listen, my point is, Araceli, what would make this bad drama is if Brock decides, well, and his agent, they come up with this thing and they just decide to sit out. I know people feel like that's not going to happen, and I'm praying that it doesn't. I'm praying that it doesn't. I am. But, it's a possibility that Brock doesn't want to play on that last year deal, because if something happens, he's not going to be guaranteed a contract his fourth year. God forbid he get hurt. God forbid those little things. Like, we got to keep the same energy and the same flow for every position up here. Brandon Ayuk wanted guarantees. He didn't care about playing on an 11-year, $1 million deal, guarantee, 1-year deal. What happens if he got hurt on that 1-year deal? He's shit out of luck. What ended up happening to Brandon Ayuk? He got hurt, didn't he? He got his security in securing the deal. So the issue is with Brock going into this next year, finish out strong, show that when March happens, I'm sure they're going to be talking. And listen, I believe the Niners want to get this done sooner rather than later. I don't know what other quarterback's looking to get paid right now because I don't really care. But I think the Niners are going to definitely learn, just the same way they paid De'Vondre Lenore way before the market. I think they've learned, but they got to wait. They got to wait on Brock. They got to wait to the end of the year. So I think with Brock Purdy's situation, I think the Niners really definitely try to get something done. We got Super Chat contributions. Sammy in a pickle. What's going on, baby? He says, are we staying with Kyle long term? How about I break this down every statement question that you got? Are we staying with Kyle? Well, the report is that they're not moving on from Kyle, period. End of discussion. That's the report that's out. You can find it out there. Look for it. The 49ers are not moving on from Kyle Shanahan. They feel like he's the best thing. He's been the best thing since sliced bread here. And you know what, man? We got to agree overall statistically, we're good with Kyle Shanahan. This year, anomaly year, right? Another injury-plagued year that we can probably chalk it up to, and we can just say between injuries, poor execution, and the drama of the holdouts, just wasn't a good year. So do we give Kyle another shot? The team sounds like they're going to give him another shot. Brock and the team is constructed for Kyle's system. So I see where you're going with this. If we are moving on from Kyle, then we're going into a complete rebuild, and Brock doesn't make sense. Now you're talking my language. See, this is what I'm talking about, right? Brock was hand selected, and I don't even think he was hand selected by Kyle Shanahan. I'll be honest? I think I think our quarterbacks coach saw some things in him and was like, look, and I don't even know if he's going to be here next year, but so that we can get this kid to work. We can get this kid to work. I think they brought that to Kyle Shanahan's attention. And it's a possibility that Brock was never even Kyle Shanahan's guy. Like, I'm just thinking, like, damn, like, all these things. Because I feel like Kyle has an out in every scenario out there. Like, can't really pin anything on Kyle. So, there it is. Why can't I remember his name? I know he's a Michigan guy, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Rusty. So, what if Greasy, thank you, Brian Greasy, thank you. No audibles, bro. Brain farts. So all I'm saying is there's a possibility that, this is a Greasy guy and he has some limitations, but we knew that. He was a 7th round pick, 7th round pick. I wasn't finished with your question. Hold on. But let me highlight this because I like this from Jedi. Shout out to Jedi out there, man. What's going on? He said, oh no, I did finish it. Yes, you're right though. Like, if we move on from the system, which Kyle built, we would be getting a complete new system. And I don't think half of these players would fit that system offensively. I just don't. The offensive line would be terrible. You think, like, you said a complete rebuild, bro. Like, let's talk about, it will be a complete rebuild, bro. Like, from the offensive line, they would probably force Trent Williams into retirement because no coach is going to want to come in here and they don't know what they're dealing with. Trent Williams is a Kyle Shanahan pick. All of these guys fit that system, what Kyle wants to do. Outside zone, quick throws, play action pass, right? Run the ball outside, set up the quick throws in the middle. Used to do a lot of screens, but apparently that doesn't work for Kyle Shanahan anymore. And, play action pass, get the throws down the middle of the field in the play action pass game. That's Kyle Shanahan's offense in a nutshell. So there's a possibility that you're right, Sammy, in the pickle. Like, it can all change if you move on from Kyle, and that's a lot. So if we think going, let's just say we finish the season 6-11, right? If you think that's bad, imagine going 0-17 or maybe 1-16. Just imagine. And I'm not saying that will happen, but it's a possibility if you move on from a head coach. I mean, even if you bring in a guy like Ben Johnson, you need to revamp what fits Ben Johnson. You're going to need to get durable running backs, right? 2 of them guys, right? You need big offensive linemen, right? What does Detroit have? They have an offensive line. Why do you think Jared Goff plays so decent in that offense? He didn't play that well in the Rams, with the Rams. He goes to Detroit, gets a better offensive line. It allows him to hold the ball a little bit longer, and he has some decent weapons to get the ball out to. Some good weapons, to be exact. But it starts with their run game and their mentality. So I think that's not what the Niners do, personally. They would have to really revamp. Really revamp that. Jedi had a comment that says, is franchise tagging him considered disrespectful? That's a great question. I don't think it is. So there's so many things that I just talked about, and this is one of them that I like. Because Kim was Brock Purdy, the 49ers version of Kirk Cousins. Now I'm asking y'all the question. Is Brock Purdy the 49ers version of Kirk Cousins? And I'm asking that because Kirk Cousins was franchise tagged how many seasons? 2 or 3? I know it was more than 2. I know it was at least 2. I'm sorry. And then he got, traded to Minnesota, did his thing there. It was 3. Boom. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, they could franchise tag him for a few years, right? They could use the franchise tag on him. Now, I don't think that's something that the 49ers want to do, because what's the franchise tag number on quarterbacks in 2025? Let me see if I can look that up. Franchise tag. For quarterback in 2025. Oh, hell. Well, I mean, look, I was just saying, it's $41 million. You want to lock $41 million of your money into the cap. Now, that's all guaranteed, too, by the way. So, what that does, though, that hurts the Niners in the forefront, right? Because the Niners like to offer you the contract and then give you less in the beginning and pay you toward the end, down the end line of the contracts. But $41 million, if you wanted to tag him out there, if you got $41 million in your budget, then there's a possibility. There's a possibility. And the Niners rarely use the franchise tag, Jedi. And they seem to have money in the bag. And the money in the bag could be for a situation like this. Now, they can't franchise tag him until after his contract, right? They can't franchise tag him until after his fourth year in the NFL, sorry, if I'm not mistaken. But the Niners have space. And they can probably work out something. And if that number is at $41 million, there's a possibility. There's a possibility. Now, I don't think that's what Brock's agent wants. But the Niners, going back to what Araceli said, that's where the Niners have full control. They still own his rights. And they have full control. Now, he could sit out, not accrue a season, but then it comes to drama. You get what I'm saying? What's going on, Jason? And that's what I was saying, Luke the Don. You can't franchise tag him until after his year. Thank you so much, bro. So he would have to still play out this season for $1 million, which is something he probably doesn't want to do. And then the next season, going into 2026, they tag him. So it's weird. It's super weird. Now, look, I personally feel overall that Brock Purdy is the franchise quarterback for the 49ers. I think there's a lot of things that he does well. I think there's more things that he does well than he does not so well. And I think the not so well things, we can find ways to improve on that, like overall, right? Like something simple. And here it is. Something simple for Brock Purdy. It's a thing in his brain that he needs to comprehend, right? Check down. Something simple. You know what? I can't shit on Jimmy Garoppolo when it came to this, because check down was his game. He was the check down king. You know why? He came from New England, and that's what they did. Hey, you gonna take away my stuff deep? No problem. I got a wide open motherfucker right here and get the ball to, and I guarantee you get you 10 yards. If Brock gets into that and gets that into his head, and I don't have to go for the big throw. I don't have to look for the play to develop. My offensive line already isn't that great. I got a guy right in front of me. Let me just dump it to the guy right in front of me. That's the game that Brock isn't showing right now. You don't need a big arm for a check down. You need a big brain. You need to remember that there's a check down and this and bro, this is what made Debo king. Check downs. I said this to Mike the other day, and all he did was hit me with the This is what he hit me with. You ready? I said, yo, the last time Debo was good was when Jimmy was quarterback. Debo isn't, and it's not, I'm not really trying to end this on Debo, but Debo has never been that wide receiving guy that everybody keeps thinking that he is. I don't know what made y'all think he was going to be a wide receiver guy. Like, he's just not, that's not him. He was never a great route runner when drafted. He wasn't going to improve to being a great route runner. And Kyle Shanahan even said, we just need to get the ball in Debo's hands. What do you think that means? So on the quick throws is where Debo accelerates, is where he's able to enforce his physicality. But we don't even run that type of an offense, because I'm not saying Brock is not capable of that. I'm just saying that that's not what Brock wants to do. For some reason, he ain't checking it down. It was one person he checked the ball down to. His name is Christian McCaffrey. And when Christian McCaffrey came back, that motherfucker left the season hurt again. And I'm not saying he left the season hurt because he was being overworked. Brock just was the only person he trusts. Listen, I know if I just put the ball out there, Christian McCaffrey going to catch it. For some reason, the lack of trust with Brock and his checkdowns just isn't there. He had a wide open Patrick Taylor in front of his face in this game against the Rams, right? I mean, a game against the Rams on Thursday night, and he threw the ball into zone coverage with, another cornerback and a safety trailing over on the top. Even though the safety was late, it was an interception. And when you have the check down right in front of your face, I don't understand how you miss that when it's wide open. That would be my only issue. And so, like, does that mean he's worth the max? Yeah, like these are mental mistakes, though. These are little things. He's not capable of doing it. He can throw the check down. He just won't throw the check down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's capable of doing the check. He's capable of dumping it off. And I just think give him an off season where he's focusing on the check down. This season, it was focusing on the ball down the field. Next season, we may get the check down game. Look, you know what made Tom Brady, like, great? The fact that he can do it all, right? He could do it all. He had the arm strength, obviously. He had the height, obviously. But remember the check down? Nobody checked the ball down more than Tom Brady. Nobody. Bro, they ran plays that were just called check downs. It was like 4 check downs. Pick your poison. One guy at the top and 3 check downs. Somebody was getting the ball underneath. Like, and he's considered the greatest quarterback of all time. So all I need is Brock to, like, you know, I feel like he's capable of doing a lot. And I feel like he's capable of being worth that money. And I don't want to let this season be the reason why he's not going to be worth max or whatever. I think the Niners know what he can and what he can't do. I think they might have been focusing on his limitations a little bit. They didn't ask for it to rain or snow or anything like that, but they need to see him go out there and kind of like how he plays in that game. I think maybe Kyle Shanahan, if he had his full offense and full throttle, we probably would have seen a different plan or a different attack. But look, the offensive line is the offensive line. Players dropping balls, execution of being poor. I think Brock, though, will be the guy that the Niners definitely hand the keys to, and they'll find a way to keep the team together as much as they can. All right, that's just my opinion on it, man. Like, my thing is, I love every 40. If you wear red and gold and you do it right, I love you, man. I'm gonna go to war for you. Guys like De'Vondre Campbell, I went to war for him all season long until he pulled that bullshit, that stunt. I did. Nobody defended De'Vondre Campbell more than me this season because he was a 49er. I don't know. I just take something into the guys wearing red and gold. Not saying that they can't be bad or they can't do any wrong, but I just felt like he was put in positions where it wasn't his strengths. And I always will stand by that. But, man, if you wear red and gold, I'll be going to war for you. I don't care who you are. I did this a few years ago with George Kittle. I'm doing it again now for all the other players that rock the red and gold. My only thing is I need the Niners to come out for these last 3 games, find a way to compete. Will they pay Brock? That's up to them. It's up to Brock's agent come in this contract extension period, which will happen at the end of this season. So there's a possibility that that gets done. I think the Niners want to get it done rather sooner or later so they can focus on the rest of their team. I think the Niners have way more serious issues than paying Brock Purdy. You got a quarterback that you watched win and got to the biggest game of his career in a very short period of time and, you know, couldn't get the job done, like, overall. So I think the Niners know what they got in Brock Purdy, and I think they'll find a way to make Brock Purdy the guy here for the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, don't let that number matter to you. It all is going to come down to the money. It's going to get paid regardless. So it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? But the Niners need to figure out what they need to do this week to get ready for Miami. They will be traveling out there. Looks like it's going to be sunny skies. Brock Purdy's going to get a dry ball, to throw this week. Debo's going to get another opportunity to go out there and just catch the goddamn ball. I think at this point, Debo, that's all we want you to do. Just catch the ball. Throw the ball, catch it, man. I don't care if you get 1 yard or 15 yards or 151 yards. Just catch the ball at this point. Catch the ball. I think they'll run the ball a little bit better. Isaac Orendo coming off of another week off of that injury to his foot. I think he'll be a little bit better. Hopefully Trent Williams is out there to play. At least you'll get more fluidity out there on that offensive line and cohesiveness. I do like what I'm seeing from Jalen Moore. You know what I want this week in practice, yo? I want Spencer Burford competing for that guard spot. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want Spencer Burford competing to play starting guard for the 49ers this week. I'm hoping in practice it's ramped up. I do. Because I think Spencer Burford played guard better than Aaron Banks. I'll leave you on that note. Guys, I love y'all, man. Y'all have been so much a crew. Give yourselves a round of applause. And until the next time, man, y'all make sure y'all find a way to keep it faithful to the mother freaking Bay. I mean, I know it's rough. We got a 0.1% chance of getting into the playoffs. We need some teams to lose. Sammy in the Pickle ends the show on this Super Chat contribution. He says, gotta run. Love your channel. This is to show support and to remind people likes are free. Hit that like button. His show is fire. Appreciate you. We're going to end on that note. Again, man, keep it faithful to the Bay. Till the next time. Peace out.